Looks like we're still sorting out, going to wait for the game to start. So Coops, we have Coops, who's the absolute underdog. I honestly have not seen a game with Coops thus far, but he has dispatched Aerosenin to get into the finals. He's also gone through a tough bracket. I know this is Jimmy, was on one side of the bracket or the other, looking over the tops, but going up against a very tough competitor in RootDdoRo. Keep in mind, though, RootDdoRo Protoss, we have had a recent patch, so it could be somewhat of a wild card.
Yeah, definitely could be. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how RootDdoRo goes in his PVT.
One thing for Coops is looking at his initial style, it looked like he favored that long-term mech sort of opening. That could favor him on ASCW Metalopolis. Is there any difference on ASCW? Wow, I'm having trouble spitting that out. Metalopolis to Metalopolis?
It's essentially MLG Metalopolis, except for its forced cross positions, gases are moved around, and there's no statue outside your natural. That's pretty much the only differences.
So basically, we're guaranteed for a more macro-oriented game on Metalopolis. RootDdoRo, of course, one of those guys, if you're unfamiliar with him, one of those transplanted Koreans into Canada. Fantastic player, did really well on all ends of the ladder. He's going to be starting at the 12 o'clock location as the Purple Protoss. 6 o'clock location, we have Coops as the Yellow Terran. Again, guaranteed cross positions on this map. RootDdoRo, I'm wondering how he's adjusted to the recent patches. You can't 4-gate anymore, but honestly, when I've seen his early style, he tended to rely on more 3-gate into 3-gate robo into expands, or just 3-gate into expand sort of style play. So honestly, I think he's definitely the favorite. He's strong. I don't think he's going to be hurt too much by the patch. But Coops seems to have a very formidable mech style where he just goes for that long-term big Hellion opening with that harass leading directly into Thors and that big end-game Terran Death Ball.
Yeah, we saw a couple of games ago he went for, it was a PvT game where he, RootDdoRo did go for the 3-gate expand where he looked at the what his opponent was doing. He poked up with the Stalkers, saw that there was Marines there, so he dropped 3-gate. In the next game, he saw that there was a bunker there, and so instead he went straight for the 1-gate expand. So he's very, very flexible in his builds. He knows what he's doing.
The one problem going up against RootDdoRo in a macro matchup is we know his mechanics are solid. So the thing is again, if Coops goes for that long-term extended match, will he be able to race RootDdoRo when it just comes down to flat economics? Looks like, honestly, in the engagements going up against Aerosenin, it seemed like Aerosenin was handing those engagements over oftentimes, and I think that could be a weakness for Coops. I think RootDdoRo is going to have the better overall troop engagement mass. I almost wish I had come up with a term with this in Brood War, but basically micromanagement on a mass scale when you're dealing with a gigantic army moving across the field. There are multiple times where Coops just did not align his troops. It's not going to be a big factor here on Metalopolis, but it could be a big factor down the line. This is a best of 5. Thus far, it looks like we have a refinery and a barracks developing for Coops. Nothing too crazy here. We also have an assimilator on 15 timing, also an additional pylon and a gateway in production, and a cross scout. So it looks like Coops does know the nature of the map. He is going to scout directly into RootDdoRo's base.
Yep, both players should hopefully know the setup as they have been playing it every game so far. The round of 1, the best of 1s have all started on ASCWeekly Finals, so hopefully they do know at this point that it is cross positions as it is in the rule page and all that good stuff. So we are seeing a tech lab going down on the first barracks for Coops, so we're gonna see, I would guess, I would say probably maybe concussive shells early on, concussive Marauder push. Yeah,
what I'm kind of hoping to see actually is an early Reaper, but it is likely we will see an early Marauder push, and I'm hoping we see that Reaper for that later scouting information, which could be very vital again with that patch change with some adjustments we might see in play. So RootDdoRo has that cybernetics core up. Let's see, it looks he is going to get a stalker out initially. And it looks like we are, in fact, seeing a Reaper. Nice. To get that mid-game scouting information. And basically, the goal of this is to go up, harass, maybe get a couple kills, maybe hope to catch a sentry, although there isn't a sentry in production. It is going to be Stalker to start, so RootDdoRo will be in a nice situation to engage just troop on troop, but then get that very safe command center behind it. And hopefully, and I like this by Coops, he's not overcommitting with that Reaper. You'll see a lot of players when they go Reaper opening, they'll just immediately plant that command center down with that natural expansion, but that Reaper is not a guaranteed protection. Yes, you are doing some harassment, but if you lose that Reaper, it can be very threatening. And that might be a reaction to seeing that Stalker out early.
Good timing, good map awareness from RootDdoRo. He's able to pull that probe off that Zelnaga almost immediately as soon as seeing that Reaper. The Reaper entered the vision range of the Zelnaga, and the probe immediately ran away, fleeing for its life. And the Stalker is actually already sitting here on patrol pattern, waiting for that Reaper to pop up into his main, spreading his troops out fairly well as RootDdoRo. And Warp Gate is just about 3/4 of the way finished for him. And he's dropping a second gateway and a third gateway as well in random positions around his base to give him additional vision in his own base for drops in the late game, which is a very good style from him.
Yeah, I don't know why Protoss players ever put gateways near other gateways. I actually liked this hidden SCV in the upper left-hand corner. It looks like it's attacking that Mengsk statue. Take that, Mengsk! In the meantime, he was hoping to sneak it in with that Reaper, but unfortunately it was a sentry stage to the front door. Instead, he's just going to hide out next to that natural expansion to try to get information a little bit later in the game. And that's the power of the Reaper. DdoRo is not going to press out. He's not going to catch that SCV, and as a result, he will be revealing a bit of information if he does go into an expansion build here, which I assume he's going to. But and he is saving up resources to do it. But I got to say, nice scouting, nice early information from Coops.
Yeah, definitely showing that he can go play with the super high-level players in this this early Reaper opening. Like you said, I was expecting more of that Marauder play just because that's generally what the standard is right now, but we did see him go for that Reaper, and that was good for him. He might actually lose it here. That Stalker did take out that Reaper as it tried to scout up into the main. I don't believe he actually saw that third gateway, or in fact any of the gateways other than the first one, so not as good scouting as he could have gotten, and he didn't get a single shot off on the probes either, so it had served its purpose, but still unfortunate to lose that there.
Absolutely key, though, you'll notice that the only information he got right there was a warp gate and the cybernetics core. He didn't get a good look at the additional gateways. He didn't really see whether there was an early robo to follow that up. It's really nice play in that regard. Looks like we have another scouting SCV out to the corner. It's being engaged. Maybe not. Does an end around on the sentries. Might be able to sneak out there. Coops is just barely going to be able to sneak in. There's a single Stalker warping in. It is too late, though. He sees the natural expansion, is not going to get anything past that. But hopefully that'll cause Coops to play a little bit less defensively. He had that bunker up on his front for a considerable amount of time, and he is really, really shelling up. You can see the long-term dedication. He already has 2 additional bunkers placed on his front door.
Oh yeah, wow, he is definitely going for the long game. He is ready for a macro style of play. We are seeing a lot of barracks down as well as this factory, so we're maybe C-Mac, but he definitely does have these 3 barracks set ready for bio. In fact, there's a little shadow of a starport there for a second there. There it is. It's going to be on the other side of the factory instead. That way he can get it down just a slight bit earlier. So he will be going for a starport reactor on the factory. Probably going to go for some early Hellions right now, or maybe he'll just lift off the probably lift off the starport onto the factory, or onto the tech lab, or the reactor. There we go, onto the reactor after the factory lifts off. Yeah,
it has some difficulty. It looks like he is going to have level 1 weapons, so a slight upgrade advantage for Coops, and just planning all sorts of reactors, tech labs, whatnot, just getting that infrastructure up and running. Starport, yeah, should switch onto that factory momentarily to probably get those medevacs at cross positions. Those drops can really force DdoRo to play back and play in kind of a defensive posture. And let's see, really that's what the mid game is really going to look like. A nice comp set in there to get a good look. And again, because of all that spread, he just sees the robo, the warp gate, and one other gateway. He doesn't have a really good indication of all of DdoRo's tech. Granted, he should have, just being the player and at the level he's at, he should have a pretty solid indication. But nevertheless, it's not guaranteed. In the meantime, getting those medevacs, and I assume he's going to go for just some pithy drop, or not pithy drops, verse, that's not what that word means. No, actually it is, pithy, some substantial drops. Not massive, while he's taking this command center just to hold what could be a superior attack force from DdoRo, just pin it back.
Yeah, that scan actually did reveal the Robo Bay as well, so he does know that there will be Colossus on the way. I wouldn't be surprised to see him switch over into Viking production very shortly here to deal with those. He does have the 2 medevacs out, no drops quite yet, but there is an observer to spot that from DdoRo, hanging out right outside the natural of Coops. So he will be aware of most of what's going on. It's not as active as an observer as it would like, just kind of hanging out here outside the natural, but definitely getting him some good scouting and right outside the range of this missile turret as well.
Yeah, I got to criticize Coops a little bit. These medevacs are a bit superfluous. You don't really need them unless you're going for some sort of aggressive play, or if you're... Basically, you don't need them unless you're being aggressive or you're going for these drops, and he's doing neither. And as a result, it's a bit of an empty investment. It's possible he sent them out early to get some perhaps additional energy, but at this stage, basically, if you're in a large engagement, you're not going to have a lot of time to kite and rebuild that energy anyway. You want to have those bunkers and things down. In the meantime, DdoRo is taking that upper left-hand expansion almost unopposed. Keep in mind, Coops still has the economic advantage, though, because he had that third basically planted it well before DdoRo did.
It looks like he will be getting a planetary fortress on that as well. He's going to be going for the planetary fortress over the orbital command in case of not early, but any aggression coming out from DdoRo, which will inevitably come up to that third eventually. So he will. I do agree with that choice on the high ground there. Most Terrans do generally go for planetaries on Metalopolis on that position. So definitely good.
Colossus count growing, and we actually have double Stargate from DdoRo to get a lot of Phoenixes out to try to force those, well, first of all, create some space in between the Colossi and the